My name is Jean Kim, and I think it's time we talked about sex. Don't worry, I'm not going to give you the birds and the bees talk. I think we're all old enough to know about the mechanics of reproduction. But in the interest of creating greater variety of content for my channel, I thought I'd turn my attention to sex and sexuality. And today I want to talk about the sexual and relationship norms of our society. Things are probably a bit different now, at least for some people, but when I was growing up, and for the majority of my adult life, there seems to have been a bunch of assumptions about the way that people do things with regards to sex and relationships. And not only do I think it's important to have a wider appreciation of the different options that life has to offer, but I also find some of these norms a little bit concerning. The conventional idea is that there are two forms of sexual contact between adult human beings: the one-night stand and the monogamous relationship. Despite feminist critique of drunken sex, it is still widely believed that the thing to do when you're young and single is to go out to bars and nightclubs, get intoxicated on alcohol, and then go home with someone for some meaningless sex after which you never see or speak to each other again. This is one of those scenarios that never ever worked for me, and that I find mildly concerning. This never worked for me for the following reasons. Personally, I find that the amount of alcohol required to give me the courage to talk to and flirt with complete strangers inevitably makes me more likely to want to fall asleep than to have any kind of sexual contact. Also, I find it hard to be especially aroused by someone who I hardly know and have barely spoken to. They may look sexy and be good at dancing, but when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of sex, I need some mental stimulation as well, and not simply visual eye candy. I also struggle with the act of intercourse at the best of times, and usually in this boringly predictable cultural convention, the intercourse is believed to be the be-all and end-all of the encounter. The pressure to try and perform in that way with someone I barely know, when I'm shy and underconfident to begin with, has usually resulted in, shall we say, less than positive results. And on the rare occasion when I have had a mutually satisfying experience under those conditions, the unspoken assumption that it should be a one-time thing, and that any attempt for a repeat performance, or even at times friendship afterwards, is viewed with suspicion of being clingy or needy, has often led to a bitter aftertaste and a sense of rejection anyway. Look, I love the idea that sex can be promiscuous, casual, and have no strings attached, but we just shared a beautiful experience, for fuck's sake. Do you have to be so cold and suspicious of any attempt to do it again in the future, or even just stay in contact as friends? The other conventional form of sexual contact between adult human beings is the monogamous relationship. Basically, either through dating, meeting in some non-drunken social setting, or through the miraculous situation where a drunken one-night stand turns into something more permanent, people develop an emotional and affectionate attachment to each other and decide to never have sexual encounters with any other human beings for the duration of the relationship. In more religious situations, it might even be the intention to never have sexual encounters with any other human being ever again, till death do us part. Scary. I'm not a commitment phobe, honestly. Well, maybe a bit. But that feels a bit full on, especially as the only alternative to meaningless drunken fumbles. More and more people are waking up to the inadequacies of such a limited system of human intimacy, and I think it is important to promote the many alternative models of human sexuality and relationships. And so you have friends with benefits, open relationships, polyamory, etc. You even have non-sexual relationships, committed partners who base their relationship on sensual affection or emotional connection and yet don't have sex. It is important to challenge all those old assumptions. Who says that casual, hedonistic sexual release has to be a one-time thing? Whether through a kink partnership, or friends with benefits, or simply having a sexual partner you hook up with from time to time, people are discovering how rewarding it can be to have satisfying sex with the same partner without there being any heavy relationship commitment or an emotional connection any more intense than a friendship or an acquaintance. Couples in a romantic relationship are becoming aware that loving each other as whole people can involve loving the naughty sexual parts of each other also, and the desire they both have to experiment and experience new things. So you have couples that swing, or enjoy threesomes, or couples that have an open relationship, enjoying sexual encounters together, or agreeing to situations in which they can each have sexual encounters with other people as long as the romance is strictly between the two of them. Then you have polyamory. Who says you can only love one person at a time? Sometimes relationships can involve more than two people. Triads, quads and the like. These situations can involve polyfidelity. More than two people are in a relationship with each other, but they don't have any romantic or sexual relations with people outside of that extended group. Or sometimes people have a string of interconnected relationships, and it works because they all know each other and have negotiated boundaries and consent around it. And one thing I find endlessly concerning about the way most people view sex is the way that penis in vagina intercourse is so often believed to be the main point or event of the sexual encounter. This is obviously specific to heterosexual sex, or at least sex between people with the opposite sets of genitals. People talk of foreplay, implying that all the other fun that two people might have together is merely an opening act for the real event. This can be very damaging. It puts enormous pressure on people to perform that one kind of sex, and it kind of devalues the rest. Look, I understand that if you're trying to make children the natural way, the intercourse part is how that happens. But I think this obsessive focus on penis in vagina penetration is actually a hangover from some prudish Catholic past, when reproduction was the only purpose of having sex. I believe that everything people can do together to have a mutually gratifying and pleasurable experience is a wonderful thing, and can indeed be the whole point of the exercise. Oral sex, masturbating each other, kink, fetish, anal sex, there's a whole load of sexual things people can do other than penis and vagina intercourse, and they can each be very fulfilling and worthwhile in their own right. Then there's the assumption that romantic relationships have to be sexual. No, they don't. Personally, I would love a cuddle buddy, someone who I can be emotionally intimate with and enjoy kisses and cuddles with without any pressure or requirement for sex to be part of the relationship. And people do this. Asexual people often have various kinds of relationships with people, sensual, romantic, or even platonic, without any sex being involved. What we can all learn from this is that this might be what we need or want from certain people. And although we also desire sex with certain people in certain situations, that other kinds of relationships are also possible, and may be the more desirable thing in a certain situation, with a certain person, or even just a certain stage of our lives. I'm glad we're beginning to move forwards as a society and understand just how much richer our lives can be when we allow for different options than just the conventional ones. I'm not saying the conventional ones are wrong in themselves. They do seem to work for some people. I'm just saying that they're not right for everyone. And there are still a lot of people that could benefit from other options but might not be aware that they exist. And for that reason, we all need to start talking about this stuff a lot more and spreading awareness about it. Thanks for watching.